Okay, hey, good evening, everybody. Chris Pate here from the class of 87. My co-host, as always, is Steve Rodriguez from the class of 86. A couple housekeeping things real quick. First of all, this is the Bayshore Christian Faith Warrior Basketball unofficial alumni page. Having said that, that means that the opinions expressed on this are solely those of Steve, myself, and those others that show up or appear on the show. So having said that, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I know I sound a little nervous. I'll tell you what, I'm as giddy as a schoolgirl right now.
My hands have been shaking all day, and I've got a special song to get started. Hold on one second. I don't know if we can hear it.
Oh, boy.
Hold on. Can you hear it? We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're on this podcast with Mount Rushmore himself, Mr. Bayshore Basketball, Brian Peterson. Everybody clap. Everybody.
Well, thank you for having me, you two. Yeah, y'all are doing a great job, but thank you for having me.
Brian, thank you for being with us. And, the first questions out of the gate is really just finding out how things have been going since Bayshore. Tell us about family, kids, business, what's been happening all these years later.
Well, after I got out of college, we started up, we had a garbage business and it was sold. And then when I got out, we started back up again. And then while we had the garbage business, we started a blueberry farm. We just recently sold the blueberry farm. I have 3 kids, a 16-year-old daughter, a 14-year-old boy, and a 12-year-old boy. Loving life with those kids.
Yeah, they're following in your footsteps. I mean, they have the Peterson genetics because some of them are pretty good at sports, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're doing well. My daughter plays volleyball, and my 2 boys, they play basketball. My little guy, he plays about everything. He did lacrosse, basketball, anything he can get his hands on, he was doing. But he's sticking with basketball now.
That's really good. That's really good. And Chris, please, because I always talk the most, so I don't want to steal anything. You've got lots of questions as well, but that we want to start right into basketball, and it starts with the Peterson origin story. So if you remember, tell us why and how you ended up at Bayshore.
Well, I ended up at Bayshore. It was middle school, and I was at a public school, and it just wasn't going well there. And my family was looking, mom and dad were looking for a Christian school to go to. And I have to tell you the truth, I really don't know how they found Bayshore, but it was a blessing because, I loved basketball at the time too, and came in there and I fell in love with everything. Everybody that was there, the Daniel boys when I was there, it was incredible. The atmosphere was awesome.
Right. And I guess, so is eighth grade was 86, 87? Was
yes,
that
sir.
It with the Final Four run in 87 with the Daniels brothers?
Was. Yep.
And I remember, so you're in 8th grade when you were going into 9th grade. I had already graduated, but I was at school for like an open gym. And I walk in the gym and you're shooting around or whatever. And I walk up to Coach Dibble, Tom Dibble. And Dibble says, hey, Steve, you're over. Look at that boy over there. Look at that kid over there. He's a real deal. He's a real deal. And I'm like, I think he's in 8th grade, Tom. What are you talking about? He said, hey. He's a real deal. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of Brian Peterson was when you were going to be a freshman that next year. And I guess it was 87, 88 with that team was Faedo and Blocker. Pate, what do you remember from your first Peterson story?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, I've got to back up Steve and Brian because the fact that you mentioned the Daniel brothers before you mentioned me being on that team.
I'm sorry.
My God, what has happened? Actually, the first time I ever saw Brian Peterson play was, I guess, his freshman year against Bloomingdale High School. I don't remember how much he played. I just remember being a tall, lanky, blonde-headed kid. And talking again I think I talked to Dibble afterwards that game, and he's like, yeah, that guy's going to be good in a couple of years. So I don't know. I didn't really believe him at the time, but I guess in retrospect, Brian was pretty good.
And then all these years later, here we are with the legend himself. So freshman year, I've seen video. You had good playing time on varsity. Do you remember much about your sophomore year? That 88-89 team was, I think, 18-11. It was a Chris Hernandez team. Y'all had a real good upset victory over Leto. I think they were number 6 in 4A. But that was really it. That team struggled. Do you have any recollection of those guys from that year?
Man, you know what? Years run all together. I try to remember what I even did in college, and it's hard.
Right.
I don't remember those years so well. I mean, I remember the players that were on there. I don't remember really specific games, but I just remember the guys. I mean, how much fun we had with everybody, coaches. I don't remember a bad time at all when I was there. It was fantastic.
Sure. Well, who were some of those guys, Brian?
What's that?
Who were some of those guys?
Well, we had Hernandez. I don't know if my sophomore year was Albert Beckman. I know he was junior year. I don't know if he was there yet at all.
He was there, but I think he was on JV.
He was on JV.
Yeah.
Was JJ Garnett with us that time too?
Yeah.
He come my junior year. He did. Yeah. I mean, like I said, all the years they run together. I don't know who's with us,
Well, I'm with you because I can't even remember what was for breakfast either. So we skip forward then into so the Peterson era really begins with your junior year, 89-90. That's the JJ Garnett year. JJ at the time becomes our leading scorer. He's top 5, I guess, in Hillsborough County.
Yes.
That team wins 19 in a row. I'm pretty sure you beat Robin. So you beat a public school on that schedule and you win districts. What is your recollection of playing with JJ? That was his senior year. I know the years run together, but this is the beginning of when it really gets good, when Peterson begins to put his mark on the program.
Yeah, playing with JJ was fantastic. I mean, the guy was a leader, and I just followed behind him. I mean, he led us in everything. But by the time beginning of my junior year, I didn't feel like I was. I had, of course, a lot of growing to do, but it felt like towards the end of my junior year, when we started getting to the playoffs, is when my confidence really started to grow.
Sure.
And what was good because, JJ was leaving. And then next year, it was Dalvin Devine, me, Albert Beckman, Andy Anderson was there, Brian Harper. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a lot of guys, and I apologize, but, just like I said, it was a great time. Great time.
We're getting ready to give you a few stories about those guys once we get to the Final Four year. I'll give you one about Albert Beckman. Before he was with you the junior and senior year, he was up in the stands with me screaming for you guys. My love for Albert Beckman is his complete and unadulterated assault on the officials while screaming with me in support of the 89-90 team. And I didn't really come around until after y'all played Baldwinsville in the Bay Classic.
Okay.
I was in college at UT, so I was in town, but busy, moving on in life. But then Herman told me, he said, "Listen, we got a really good crew with JJ and this young guy Peterson, and you ought to come watch a few games." And that's when I sort of got hooked watching 89-90, and you guys had Schramm. Schramm was really good. So 89-90 was just the first launching pad of the Peterson era, but it takes us into the year. Yeah. And that's the 34-2 Final Four run. We've got some scores and some stories, but the first question is with you. What do you remember at the beginning? Did the junior year end? Yeah, Chris, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just interject in a second because I thought we would talk about this a little bit, and that's actually that trip you took to the Soviet Union in between your junior and senior year.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that that's not top secret classified?
Oh wow, that was a great crew. We had Jesse Salters, we had Alvin Pearsall, we had Trey Thomas, who wound up being an offensive lineman for the Eagles.
That's right.
He was on that team too. Yeah, I think he just retired from the Eagles maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I think he went to FAMU afterwards. But, man, we had what a great crew. But it was fun. We went over there. We went against their junior Olympic team. I think they had 3 or 4 7-footers on that junior Olympic team. But, you know, I think we were – I don't know if we came back with a winning record, but we definitely competed, which was nice.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was great. And then I went after that. I think that was between my junior and senior year. I went to Ireland, or it might have been my senior year of the summer. Went to Ireland after that. It was just a different crew. But, yeah the Soviet Union was special.
Wasn't there an international incident? The Tampa Tribune reported some type of hard foul or something. Tell us about that.
There was. I took a shot to the face and knocked me out. And then when I came to, everybody was on the court and with a big brawl. So we had to be separated and go to our locker rooms. And then we wound up playing the rest of the game. But, yeah, I took a nice shot to the face.
Peterson taking out the Russians for us, Pate. You can't.
You know, I tried to do my part, but I tell you what, I think he did better than I did.
I tried. Yeah, Pate had an international incident as well with the Swedish national team a few years before you. So we've got two international fighters on the team. So very good.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Daniels and I in '87 against the Swedish national team. We took out one of the players pretty hard after they had fouled Kelvin really hard. Yeah. And, another typical, you know, bench clearing brawl, typical Bayshore stuff, you know.
Oh, man. So I'm real glad you remembered that, because that's a great part of the Peterson legend is the trip to the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And
you guys did well, too. I mean, I was looking at it, and I guess you guys finished 2-2, which put you in second place for the tournament, which is great. And, I mean, being the only team outside the Soviet Union, and being a young team at that compared to who you were playing against, I mean, I think that was just I think that was tremendous the way you guys, carried yourselves through that. And I also, Argo said you averaged about 15 points a game during that series, that tournament, and that's pretty darn good for a junior, going to a senior year. So.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize I averaged that much, but.
Well, I mean, that's really good playing with all those guys, especially when you mentioned Jesse Salters and
oh my gosh, yeah,
Division I guys.
Yeah, we were supposed to have Clifford Rozier on that team, but he chose to go to Team Florida instead. Who, went to Louisville and then actually went to Carolina first, then to Louisville, and then played for the Warriors for a couple of years. But just got to play with all those guys, and even like in my summers when I played, I was super blessed. I mean, I had a lot of people who loved me, and coming up my freshman year, I played in Riverfront League. So I got to play with Charlie Bradley, Kuda Patterson, Tony Mack, who was at Georgia. He went to Georgia. I mean, I played against all these Matt Geiger was in it. I played in the Pro-Am. But I just had people who loved me and asked me to play and train with them. It was truly a blessing all the way around with everybody. Starting with Coach Valdez, and my parents, of course. But Valdez, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
That's so tremendous to hear. Such a tremendous story, and thinking of all those names, especially when you mentioned Tony Mack, because Chris Pate and I are from Brandon, and we played with him at Sadie Park many times.
Oh yeah,
back in the day. But there's nothing like Riverfront, so those opportunities are well deserved because we're talking to the legend himself, Brian Peterson, and so we go from beating up the Ruskies and a run to the sectional final or the regional final, whatever they call it, the year before. Did you feel like at the end of your junior year, did you and Galvin, Beckman say to yourself, listen, we're going all the way next year? Was there any conversation like that or thought, or did you just next day you go back to work? What was it like?
Yeah, it was never said. But, I mean, you could tell all the guys had a purpose over the summer. I mean, we all worked out, I did the Riverfront League again, worked out hard. All the other guys, we did a lot of – we met once a week, scrimmaged over at Bayshore. So, I mean, we were all ready to go.
And so we're ready to go, and we're now into the senior year. And I don't remember the preseason ranking. We may have been top 10 or not. but from our research and from our recollection, it all centers around a December trip south to face Broward Christian on a Friday night, ranked 4th, and Fort Lauderdale Westminster with future Florida State and NFL quarterback Danny Cannell, who was ranked 2nd.
Wow.
And what I remember and what I've talked about, and I spoke to Harville a little bit, John Harville said he was an assistant coach on that team. The opening night on Friday, y'all take out Broward Christian thanks to a Dalvin. I mean, you did your usual thing. I think you had 25 points. Dalvin gets a steal at the last few seconds and lays it up to win it. Do you have any recollection of that game? I've got a story coming, but what are your thoughts if you have any?
Wow. I don't remember that game real well, but I do remember the Westminster game a little bit more. And I had no idea until you mentioned it the other day when I watched the podcast about Danny Cannell. I had no idea he was on that team because I was good friends. I think his name was Tommy Bagley. He went to Russia with me, and he was from that team. He was my roommate when we went, and I had no idea. I had no idea he was on that team.
Sure. How funny. So you remember you had a roommate at Georgia, and now we're recollecting and didn't realize Danny Cannell was on that team. But the Friday night game against Broward Christian, according to Coach Valdez and Coach Harville, here comes the story. It's sort of like an opponent has a very raucous crowd and a very raucous fan base. Dalvin gets the steal to win it. You put up 25 of our 64 points, and exiting the building was rather hard to do. And,
right.
And apparently, as the crowd is approaching and encircling, there's lots of pushing and shoving and talking. And apparently Andy Anderson was a black belt, I guess.
He was. Yes, he was.
John Harville says he started to take off his shoes and get into a crouched position like he's going to take somebody out. And then another guy is an assistant coach for the other team. He's screaming at our kids. And Herman tells him, be quiet. They're teenagers or whatever. And the assistant coach says, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my father. And Herman says, that's probably part of the problem. And so like they're surrounding the bus and y'all can't get off the property. Do you remember any of that?
Wow. I don't remember any of that, but I'm sure it's true.
Yeah. But so we escape, life-threatening situations at Broward, and y'all come back the next night for Danny Cannell, and apparently a friend of yours, a roommate from college.
He was my roommate in Russia.
Russia, sorry, very good. Yeah. And that game was 74-72 overtime. You had 31 points, 7 of our 9 overtime points. Any thoughts how you finished that game off for us?
That game sticks out in my head the most out of my high school career, towards my end of my high school career. There's two shots or two games that stick out. One was at my freshman year at home against, I believe, Tampa Prep, and I hit a 3, I believe, to either tie it or to send us up by 1. We wound up winning that game. And then that game right there, I just remember, I felt like it was, I don't know, like my coming out party. I felt like, all right, now I feel like I can score on anybody because they were a good team. They were a very, very, very good team. And that's,
anytime you beat Tampa Prep, that just adds to the we're not worthy, because that's glorious. That definitely makes us happy. So you remember the Westminster game a lot. You remember that game as a freshman against Tampa Prep. And, of course, the rest of the season goes your way. We win, I think it's 20 – Pate, help me out on the numbers. I think it's 27 games in a row. Is that correct?
27 in a row. Not sure about the total number of games in a row. But
something like that. It's 20. The year before was 19, and then there's an article that says 26, but there was another game left. I think it's 27.
Wow.
Yeah.
Y'all win the district, and then you pile into the Valdez Mobile? How did y'all get up to Tallahassee? Did y'all drive separately with family? What happened?
We did have the Valdez mobile, but I think I might have rode with my parents. I don't know, because that was in Tallahassee, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is funny. And did you guys, when you got there, did you think that we had a shot against? Well, I mean, you're ranked number one. You would think that we're the favorite. What was your feelings about that game?
I felt great going into the game. I don't know how any of the other guys felt, but I felt great. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to look at the scoreboard. I don't know, or the score sheets. I don't know what happened, but I know we got beat.
Right.
Well, we wound up losing by, was it something like 15, 20?
I don't know, Pate, do you remember? We did the research. We forget.
I think we ended up losing by 14.
14.
You guys went rolling into that game because you had won the sectional 88-59 over Everglades City.
Yes.
So, do you remember that game at all? Or?
I remember that game. That was a rout. I do remember that game at home.
Yeah.
That's also another major.
Did we play the year before our junior year down there?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was packed. I mean, you couldn't even take the ball out of bounds. It was so packed down there my junior year. Go. That would have gone to the Final Four then, too, with JJ if we had won that game.
Right.
Yeah.
That leads to another story, Brian. The Everglades City game. We jumped ahead to the Final Four, but I'm sure that I had met your dad or your dad's lawyers down at the county center back in the early 90s when BPI and Waste Management were contracting down there. And so your dad had a very large company, you have a very large company, and you also had a plane. And John Harville, apparently you guys were able to fly John Harville down to scout the Everglades City game.
Yes.
And Harville describes there's no landing strip. Like the pilot had to find an open field. And so they land in the dark on an open field. And then the pilot says, all right, I'll see you back here in a couple hours. And John's like, how do I get to the game? And they hitchhike with some guy who lets them hop into the back of a truck.
That is great.
Yes.
I didn't know this.
So they hitchhike in the back of the truck with one of the Everglades City fans. And, like you said, it's packed out, hanging from the rafters. And Harville said as he's walking in, I guess they take this stuff seriously up there in Tampa. And so then he has to catch a ride back because the guy's not going to give him a ride back to the field wherever the plane is.
Right.
And so that's a famous Bayshore story. He had to hitchhike both ways. Your dad's pilot has to land in the dark without an airstrip. Really funny stuff and really great that the Peterson family has its tentacles in the entire basketball operation back then.
I didn't know that story. That's a great story. I have to tell my dad that I see him tomorrow.
Yeah, please tell him because that's a great one. That's a great one. Pate, you got the next question?
Yeah. Well, so you guys obviously you blow out Everglades City in the sectional. You guys won by, I don't know, 29 points or something like that. It was crazy, ridiculous. I think you end up scoring 24 points. So, yeah. So you already mentioned that you get into Malone and you're going to play them and you're feeling great. And do you remember how you felt once the game got started? I know that Malone jumped up to an early lead. Any thoughts on that or what was going on in you guys' heads?
Oh, man. Well, I know before every game I was nervous. So we get into the game. I don't remember, too much. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know what happened. We were hoping to bring it home because number one, we were hoping to be the first to actually win it for Coach Valdez, and it was disappointing. We lost and we were definitely upset, but that's why we play the game.
Right. That's right.
Well, I mean, you did your part. You scored 19 points, so that's not too bad.
Oh, boy.
Peterson always delivered.
Yeah.
So the Final Four season ends. The Peterson era ends with 2 district titles, a regional final, a state Final Four, the longest lasting ranking at number 1 that the school has ever had before or since, I think. 26 or 27 game winning streak. We're going to get to Georgia next. I want to ask you a quick set of questions. This you have to know the answer to. my wife wanted to know the answer because she sort of went to school at the same time you did. So you're graduating in May of 1991. Here are some of the top 40 songs, and I want to know what's on the Peterson radio. And,
okay.
and Pate hates these questions, but my wife asked, so we have to do it. Okay. So here they are. CNC Music Factory, Here We Go. Baby Baby by Amy Grant. Losing My Religion by REM. Rico Suave by Gerardo. What's on the Peterson radio in May of 1991?
What the first one? CNC Music Factory.
Here. Very good. Very good. I was totally predicting Rico Suave. So yeah, what a career. And we're so, like we said at the beginning, I mean, we're literally nervous for the last 2 weeks on how to speak to you and get to speak to a legend.
Yeah.
What led to the decision to go to Georgia? Georgia Division I, you could have played in a lot of places. Why Georgia, and what was it like? And tell us that Georgia story.
Well, Georgia, I went up there to visit and absolutely just fell in love with it. So, you know, what was nice too is I wanted to get away, and it wasn't too far. You could drive 7 hours, but I wanted to be somewhat close that I could come home if I wanted to for Thanksgiving or Christmas if it was able, other than flying. Then just made a decision and prayed about it and talked to my parents about it and decided to go to Georgia. One of the best decisions I made. I mean, so much fun. Met my wife there. Just an absolute great time. I didn't play a ton, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Now you played. Was that Hugh Durham? That was Hugh Durham, wasn't it?
That was Hugh Durham. Yeah. So Hugh Durham was there I redshirted my freshman year, and then Hugh Durham was there until my end of my junior year. He was fired.
Right.
Who now is a Hall of Famer coach.
Right.
So hopefully, and then Tubby comes in, and hopefully he'll be a Hall of Famer coach.
Right.
And then,
right.
Then Tubby came.
Hugh Durham recruited a lot of Valdez's guys. So
He did. That's what the connection started right there with Coach Valdez and Hugh Durham. And he called him, sent him some tapes, and that's how it all got started. So there you go again. Valdez has his hands on all of it, and I wouldn't have gone there if it wasn't for him. Yeah. Well,
yeah, and I know Hugh Durham. He probably said, "Listen, if you're a Valdez guy, you can play." So he probably was real happy to have you, I'm sure. And I have a Tubby Smith story as well. So I'm coaching in the early 2000s, and I got a guy that he ended up at Pate. You probably know Tyrus Wade. He went to River Hills Christian, but then he transferred, played public school in Tampa. I had him for summer league, and so Tubby was looking at him. I think Tyrus Wade ended up at East Tennessee State or something. But this is like pre-internet, it's early 2000s, mostly still writing letters. And I was talking to Tubby's staff at the time. I don't remember the assistant coach, but we exchanged letters about Tyrus. And he said, he knew I had been at Bayshore, and he said, tell Brian Peterson I said hello. Brian was a good one, or something like that in a letter. I'll get it up on the website if I can find it. But even when Tubby took over, he thought very highly of you. You were a great ball player and a great Georgia Bulldog.
Oh, well, that means a lot. That means a lot. I have a Hugh Durham story too, in that same way you just told it. One of my buddies down here, his father played for him at Florida State. So they had, back when they weren't in the ACC then when he played, but they had won the conference. They never got a ring. So they invited everybody back, and Coach Durham was there and all that stuff. And he went up to him, and he knew he was from Tampa, and Hugh Durham said, "Hey, do you know a Brian Peterson?" He's like, "Yeah, matter of fact, I do." Just caught off guard, and it all started from there. So it's nice that you don't think the coaches really know who you are, but I guess they do. So nice.
Yeah, they know Brian Peterson, and everybody knows who Brian Peterson is. So
y'all are too nice.
I mean. And that was a great story. So you loved your time at Georgia. I remember watching you. I saw you on the television for, I think it was Syracuse, 81-80, I want to say, overtime. Yes. NCAA tournament game. Does that ring a bell?
In Colorado, in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. That was a real good basketball game. And so when Georgia wraps up, have you been back to Bayshore? I think I saw a picture of you with Coach Valdez. Maybe they were dedicating the gym. What was that night like?
I did. I went to when they dedicated the gym to him at Robinson. I found out someone reached out to me. I had no idea what was going on. And of course, I'm going to be there. And me, Charlie Bradley was there. He had a couple other guys. I didn't know who they were. But, Kuda has passed, so Kuda Peterson wasn't there. But me and Charlie were there, and it was nice. Got to get a picture with Coach on the court, and really touching. It was a great forum.
Yeah, absolutely. Pate, what's up next with you?
Well, I just want to give a shout out also to some of Brian's teammates that senior year at Bayshore. I really like that team, Brian, because it was one of those teams that just everybody could score at any particular moment. Just a really well-rounded crew. I think at the end of the year, every single starter ended up averaging over 10 points a game, which to me is phenomenal. You never hear of that. Guys like Major Bloom, Joe Place could hit the three. Big Albert Beckman, Dalvin Devine, all those guys. Could just any given night really give a good supporting cast for you guys. So I wanted to mention those guys, and then I also just want to mention again, that you did leave the school as the all-time leading scorer. You had 1,403 points, exactly 100 points ahead of your running mate there, J.J. Carnett. Thought that was phenomenal. But just a great team, and just a great part of Bayshore history for sure.
Yeah, well, thank you all, man. Everybody that was there. Even the older guys, J.D. Edwards. I still talk to him. I still keep in contact with Major Bloom, Albert Beckman, Brian Harper, Andy Anderson. I still talk to all those guys. It's a fraternity, is what it is, and same with you guys. It's just a big fraternity. So it's nice to finally get to meet you guys and say hello. And y'all were big inspiration for everything.
Well, you're being nice. We're following. We may have been before you, but there's no matching up to the Peterson legend. So
well, just think of how it went. Like my 8th grade year, and seeing all you guys. That just fuels the fire right there. It just then something burns inside you. Like you see the crowd and the way those guys played. That's what I want to be. I want to be like that. I want to be like those guys. I see how hard those guys are working. If it wasn't for you guys leading the way, then all this other stuff, we might have some teams that are good, but over the years, look how good we've been. It's incredible.
You hit it right on the head. I totally agree with that. When you look at what started with the original OGs with Edwards and that crew, it carried through the mid-'80s. Then the J.J. Peterson era kept going through Derek and Andrick, Jonathan Johnson's team. Even in the down years, it's still 18, 19 wins. Still nobody wants to play you because they're afraid to play Bayshore. Yep. And so just unbelievable decades. And you're exactly right. All of us wanted to live up to and we were inspired by what came before us. So you're exactly right. It's a very good way to put it. I can't think of anything more fun than doing these podcasts and being able to speak to Brian Peterson, because the Peterson era was the one I didn't get to see because I was away for school. So I only saw that junior year. I didn't get to see the Final Four year. And man, what a great season, a legendary season that you produced with all of your teammates. And we certainly thank you for it. Well,
thank you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Chris, I think we're good. You want to wrap up?
Yeah, one last byline.
Okay, good. You're not free yet.
I thought this was a great statistic. At the University of Georgia, Brian Peterson went 17 of 18 from the free throw line for a 94.4% free throw shooting percentage.
That has to be a Bulldog record.
Well, it's gotta be, man. Have more free throws than that to be even considered. It's something like 50. I don't know. Hey, that's how I got all my points. I got in there. I was looking to get fouled.
There you go. Yeah. Do you think Tom Green's going to do the job there?
I hope so. I love him. He's got it. So I talk to almost all my teammates there. My one buddy, Charles Claxton, he's 7'1", but his son is 6'11". He plays for the Nets now, and he played for Georgia. That's Nick Claxton. So I talk to him maybe once a week. The kids get to see Nick when he's in town. It's just neat, that big, huge. There you go again. That's another fraternity, and it's just so much fun. You go up there, they make you feel like you're part of what you are, but you're part of it and still part of it, and they want you to be there for it all. We have a reunion game at the end of the year every year, and then they invite you back, and you get to see all the old players, and the new players come, and all the coaches come in and say hello to you. So it's been really nice, really nice.
Yeah, I think Crean's done a good job, especially his recruiting has really stepped up a notch, and I think Georgia's got a good shot of being very good this year.
I hope so.
That's really good. Pate, you're going to lead us out then. We survived. I was going to hide behind the chair because I was so afraid to get to talk to the legend himself. But we survived. He was very nice to us. What do we got to wrap up here, Pate?
That's it. Hey, Brian, thanks so much for being with us, man. We really appreciate it. Sitting down with the king of Bayshore basketball is always a treat. Like Steve said, we're not worthy to even talk to you, man, but we're sure glad you took the time to talk to us.
Well, you guys are too nice, but thank you for having me. And you guys are doing a fantastic job. I mean, I've watched a couple of the podcasts, and they're awesome. I mean, that's why I was so nervous to come on here. Yeah, you guys are great.
Thank you, Brian. And make sure to thank your children and your wife, because none of this would happen without their doing it.
That's right.
I will.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.
All right. See you guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.